So this is a talk on failed spiritual men and transgenderism. Now, only a very small percentage of the population is transgender, and this seems much higher also in polls when they test how people see society. This number has been inflated by quite a bit. There are really not that many people that are as such, but there are a significant amount, I guess, these days. It used to be 1 in 10,000, or 1 in 10,000 children that had this issue, and now it's more. And about 70% of these children actually grew out of it after they had left puberty. So obviously it shows that the medical institution is pretty evil, pretty focused on money and quick fixes and such. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is how actually there can be a sort of positive side, I think, to this whole issue of transgenderism, which is that as society, as we don't have to work so hard anymore, as it's not all about hard labor, and which, also has its positive things, but as it's not all about hard labor and just having to be a man, men can become more feminine. Now, I would generally say that's not really a good thing, because it's not really so much I would say partly really the most responsible thing. And what I wanted to show in the video, or say in the video, is that I believe that you generally can say that these transgender men are like kind of failed spiritual men. So there is a positive aspect to this thing, is that they don't want to be a traditional man. They don't just want to do hard labor and just be a pig mill and have children and such. They want to be a more spiritual man, and that has pros and benefits. But also the cons. The cons is that if you fail, you become a hypocrite and you become a failure, just like you can become a failed worldly person. So, what is a failed spiritual person? Failed spiritual person is a person who can't meditate, who can't pray, who can't enjoy prayer, and who doesn't live by the basic commandments of Jesus or Buddha, for example. But Jesus said, don't lie, don't murder, don't be an adulterer, so don't be unfaithful to your partner or to your wife. Respect your parents. Don't steal, don't lie, don't murder, and then love thy neighbor as thyself. That's the final command, it's the most important command in Christianity, which is, I won't go into detail about that, but that's what separates Christianity from all the other religions, aside from maybe so much Buddhism. But Buddhism is a meditation sect, and it's Eastern and it's not Western. So, it's still, I don't know why people hate on Christianity or spirituality. It's also because the media hates it. The media has destroyed it. But so I feel like many of these so-called transgender men or feminine men are just deluded, failed spiritual men. They go out into this hype that it's somehow normal to become a gay or something like that, because this society worships gays and worships lust and worships money, and so many men become corrupted. And they don't meditate, they don't pray, or they become crazy. They worship spirits or something like this. They don't worship a healthy mind or God or something like that. And spirituality or Christianity has some false interpretations. I would say the hell is not eternal. I have 2 videos on that explain it quite well. It's basically that something which is eternal cannot begin. So it cannot. So it's basically a better interpretation is that people reject God's love, and then it is a hell-like state, or or a corrupted state. So yeah, I mean the solution when you look at yourself is always pretty simple. Don't lie, don't do any of these things. But then when it becomes societal, it becomes a little bit more difficult, or with other people or something like this. But the positive side of this thing is that people become spiritual. But spirituality has become so corrupted because it's so apart from the traditional roots, from basic wisdom, from basic practice. It's like do it yourself on the internet and just pick apart every belief you like and don't like and just do what you like. There's little real spirituality in a way. It's much of it is corrupted. Because also all these gurus, they all want to sell you they're also in it for the money, so they sell you these things. It's like, oh no, you don't have to really get married and respect your tradition, and no, you can just do what you like, do what you feel. No, there is no truth, it's all subjective. Well, that's not true. But what I wanted to say, the positive thing about that kind of thing is that, yeah, people become they want to become spiritual men. Spiritual men are different than normal men. It's not that normal men can't be spiritual men, that's also a myth, but there can be men that don't want to raise traditional families, that don't want to do traditional work, that want to live simply and live with spiritual rules. But these other men, they turn to lust and to addiction and to media and such, so they're fake, basically. And I mean, what really felt like a kind of epiphany about this is that they also sterilize themselves, right? They cut off their thing, and it becomes a gigantic mess. And this is also why it's such a bad thing. It's like that's the way of death. These people, they kill themselves at a 19 higher times rate. So you have these, and they follow these people for 10 years. This was before even teens became transgender. This was more long time medical condition that they probably inherited to some degree by their parents. But it shows a 19 times increased risk of suicide. This is after a sexual reassignment surgery, so that's very, very, very dangerous, very bad. Just also the risk increases of attempts, and also this, also health risk. They also talk about that because it's just a very bad surgery. The good thing about it is that that what should be done is with this sterilization is that should be applied to either to spiritual men who don't want to pursue their lust anymore. That could be one way, but that's not really needed if they are serious about their spirituality. But for child offenders and for rapists, is that the study? Should be the study. Well, this shows, don't really wanted to get into this, but this shows that actually castration does work. It reduces the recidivism rate by a lot. But the real problem is mentally ill people that pursue their lust and their lies and their media culture and that don't worship God, don't worship anything. They don't meditate, they don't pray, they just do it themselves. This culture has really infested our culture. And also one interesting sort of epiphany I felt like is that you can't really, it's like the more free sex becomes, the less free speech there is. It's like if someone's an adulterer who sleeps around and doesn't take his relationship seriously, or their marriage, then you can't speak freely anymore. Then this person becomes a whore, becomes a slut, and then you can't talk about it. Then this person wants to live a life of lies, and free speech dies. And also, this is what happens with these gay people. They They can't accept normal basic facts. You can't tell them the basic facts, because also I can't even show this on YouTube. I'd have to make a rumble on that. The statistics around these people are really, really bad. The drug use, the mental illness, the sleeping around increases by like 4 to 7 times. It's like, and then free speech dies. Then you can't call these people out anymore. You can't use certain words anymore. And they can't really take over. They can't really procreate, but they can try to, you know. And this is what apparently has happened. That we worship gay people these days. And this is really bad. Once free speech dies, the government imposes its atheistic, oppressive rule and total corruption. And this is what might happen if enough people don't wake up and speak out. This is what might happen. Now, the only grace and hope is that even if the world is corrupted, which it already is, I live in Holland, but basically everywhere it's quite corrupted because of a certain money group, a certain race also. Well, then you have to pray and you have to try to enjoy meditation and try to live a good life anyways. That's always going to be there. But it's hard. Because of the corruption. There's no other reason. I always say what man uses for evil, God uses for good, but should try to remain positive, but it's a very difficult situation. I called out my mother, for example, yesterday on her religion, Judaism, which she fell into, and I spoke about the things in the Talmud. And she gets so angry, and it's terrible. And this group actually is the media group, the elite group. But yeah, as long as people don't follow basic rules, basic tradition, basic moralities. Spirituality used to be totally normal. People would pray all the time. People would meditate prayer and meditation are the same thing. It used to be totally normal. And now it's totally foreign or totally insane. Because they destroyed this tradition. They tried to destroy it. So yeah, that's the situation of the world. Good luck. It's not that you necessarily have to be depressive about this. If you were depressive, you probably already had a bad life. If you were happy, you probably already had a good life. So it's not really much of my speak, but you should try to convert and repent and try to keep basic moral rules. Otherwise, you're totally screwed. Not so much after this life, but this life won't be a spiritual life. You won't have you won't have peace. You'll be a slave. And you may even try to enslave them. So, repent.